Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.
राज, बाबूजी के आशीर्वाद से हमने अपनी नई शुरुआत तो कर ली, पर अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कैसे करें?
बड़े-बड़े शहरों में ऐसी छोटी-छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं।
Looking for perfect start? Get a Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
जब मैं तेरी उम्र का था ना, तो एक सक्सेसफुल करियर, लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग सब रेडी करके रख चुका था। और एक इन महाराज को देखो, पूरा दिन फोन में लगा रहेगा।
दैट प्लानिंग तो मैंने भी कर रखी है, Unocoin के साथ।
नए जमाने के साथ नई चीजें आजमाएं। Looking for Bitcoin? Download the Unocoin app.
Guys, we really need to work hard. This wasn't a good quarter. Tell me, are you happy with this?
Yes! Unocoin.
Want to earn Bitcoin? Just grab your phone and shake it. Download the Unocoin app.
Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin.
Get a systematic buying plan from the Unocoin app to get your Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
Hello dear Unocoiners and welcome back to our AMA which is Ask Me Anything session. तो सबसे पहले तो आप सभी को होलिका दहन की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं. May all your pain and sorrows burn today in the holy fire of Holika. So guys, our today's AMA is based on the questions often asked by you all, which is the Indian crypto taxation policy and its impact on your gains in 2023. Today we are going to answer everything that you need to know about the Indian crypto taxation policy right here in this AMA. This is your host Shambhavi Soni and today we have guys very special guest with us, Mr. Tonmoy Shinghal, the CEO of Binox, which is a crypto tax portfolio and portfolio tracking company, and of course Mr. Sathvik Vishwanath, your favorite CEO of your favorite crypto exchange. So, hi Sathvik, hi Tonmoy, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good.
All well and excited for Holi.
Yeah. So am I, trust me. So guys, before getting started today, a quick word of caution for you all. We have noticed some fraudulent activities happening in the market in our name. So before depositing any money, make sure that you check our official website and application link. Also, we do not provide any services for portfolio management. So please be informed that it's not as if you're getting any messages or calls, someone claiming to be that. Again, a lot of people have been asked to deposit money into random wallets and they have lost their money just because they hope they would get a lot of huge returns. So stay cautious with that. Tanmay, starting off with you, I'm so thrilled to have you for the third time in our AMA. And honestly, it has taken me by surprise by the number of questions our audience has around taxation and everything. So, of course, you have mentioned this thing before. A lot of times you've given this overview. Would you be, giving this quick 2-minute overview of what this entire crypto taxation policy is so that our audience can understand this better?
Yeah, no, so thanks, Shambhavi. And, being back to Unocoin office feels like being back at home. And and especially back at home on Holi, festival of Holi is even nicer and brighter. So thank you for having me over. In terms of the taxation for the audience, earlier last year, Government of India announced taxes on crypto, and there been it was the first time when the taxes have been announced formally on crypto, which has led to a lot of questions in the audience and the traders and the investor community of crypto. And so government and the tax department has provided some clarifications, new circulars, new understanding. And then there's been new 2023 budget, which has done not too many, but some revisions, some more clarifications about the crypto. Like, for example, there is a punitive and penalty of TDS violation, which has been introduced formally. And so there are, basically some clarifications which make things more clearer and watertight. Uh, and we can I can delve into it, but I think you will probably ask some questions which
Yes, yes, I
so
would start with the question. But before that, we have a few users here. Sashi Thakur is saying hello to us. Hello, Sashi. Hello to you both as well.
Hi.
Salman Bhai here is saying happy Holi. गलत दिन रख लिया है मैं सब होली मना रहे बट आई एम श्योर सलमान भाई की जिन लोगों को अभी ये टैक्स चीज के बारे में जानना है वो ये एम देखने में बहुत इंटरेस्टेड रहेंगे. So, Tanmay, we have been seeing that in a lot of our EMS, people have been asking questions around TDS. It's a very confused concept for them. Like they don't know how to calculate it, how to pay it. So, if you could, just give a quick highlight on that.
So, a few things about TDS is one, it is the responsibility of the buyer to deduct and pay the TDS on the behalf of the seller. And, government came out with this clarification. So, basically, starting with July 2022, any crypto transaction done among the resident Indians, the buyer is liable to deduct 1% TDS per fiat to crypto trade and deposit on behalf of the seller to the department. So while the filing etc has to be done monthly, so for all the trades done in a month, every subsequent month the TDS has to be collected and deposited in one shot, and the returns have to be filed quarterly. So so yeah, I mean this is what needs to be done. Now what is also very interesting to know is that a lot of Indian exchanges do comply. Like Unocoin is super well compliant when it comes to TDS. But as any crypto investor or trader, one has to be very careful and make sure that the exchange or wallet or any source of trade that they're trading is that compliant and honoring the Indian crypto tax TDS laws or not. Because if the exchange is not doing it, then the responsibility is with the buyers. And with the next new budgetary 2023 tax amendment, there are a lot of punitive clauses and even jail term.
Okay.
So
Okay. So I think we have a couple of more questions here. Aditya Kumar is saying, kindly publish article. I can't wait any longer. So I think Aditya here wants us to write an article. Sure, Aditya, we are definitely going to publish an article if you wish to read one. Then there is Mitesh. Mitesh is asking, how easy would it be for a Unocoin user to use Binox? If there's an account integration, or do I need to do this manually? So I think you both can answer that.
Yeah, there is definitely an integration already. I think one way of integration is already live. So
yeah.
where you can provide the API keys, I think that actually went
Yes.
live. Or else you can even download the transaction
Yes.
history and upload it on Binox. So those two methods already works, right? So we are actually working on more seamless method where if you just click on a specific button, it will just direct to the next page that should show all the information where those calculation would be done by not. So we're working on that integration. But right now, either download the Excel file and uploading it, or by copying the API key on their website, people should be able to know their taxes and TDS.
Okay. So Mitesh, I think it's a lot easier for you to now know your taxes and track them. So yeah, obviously you can log into your Unocoin application and you can check where you can do this formalities from, and you can easily get your reports for taxes. Okay, so right now you just mentioned Tanmay about 2023 budget new provisions that have been introduced by the government of India. A lot of people had questions when the budget just came on, like, oh, okay, what's going to happen to crypto now? Is there going to be any relaxation or anything? So, what do you think? What are these provisions and how are they going to affect the industry in this coming 1 year?
Yeah, so when it comes to budget of 2023, the Indian tax department has largely maintained their clarity of their tax proposal of 2022. One clarity that they've provided is in terms of let's say whether there will be any offset of losses or not, and now they've provided much more clarity, and we'll come to it. The second is they've passed on a prevention of TDS as a criminal offense, and which basically comes under the Act 271C, which basically says that the penalty for failing to deposit TDS of an amount equal to the TDS amount itself is applicable, and 276B, which basically says that an offender, or offender means people who are liable to deduct and pay TDS, are liable for a jail term of from 3 months to 7 years as well. So they, with these clarifications, government has, given a very strong statement that they really want people to be compliant and make sure that they,
File their taxes.
yeah, file their taxes, and also make sure even as a buyer, uh, they should probably trade with exchanges who are compliant on TDS side. Otherwise, all the liability, all the onus is with the buyer themselves. So, I mean, uh, the combination of 271C and 276B, uh, this is on top of the existing TDS penalty or TDS amount that you anyway have to deposit. So there'll be an equivalent amount of TDS as a penalty, potential jail term, and third is also the applicable interest rates for failing to pay to the tune of 15 to 18% per annum.
I have a follow-up question to that, but our audience is already asking a lot of questions, so I would like to first address their questions. Um, Aditya again is asking here, I haven't filed anything yet. What should I do? I usually do arbitrate, so it's a bit hard to calculate, like using DEX or CEX, like decentralized exchange and centralized exchanges and all. So he hasn't filed exchanges and he is doing arbitrage trading, if that's a thing. I'm not sure. So it's a bit hard for him to calculate his taxes and all. So what should he do?
No, so pertaining to any trade, now the exact modality of the trade needs to be understood. By arbitrage trading, I'm assuming that usually if it is leading to a delivery of securities and in and out for the resident user, then they are liable as a buyer on the buyer leg to pay the TDS. Now there could be several cases. The case number one is if they're trading with a non-resident. So in that case, if it is clear that they're trading with a non-resident, they are not liable to pay any TDS. But let's say if they, as a buyer, are trading with a resident, they need to know the PAN number, they need to know some other basic particulars about the seller, and deduct a TDS of 1% equivalent amount of the value of the trade, and deposit on the PAN number of the seller, as to discharge themselves from the TDS liability. So, systems like Binox help them exactly do that. So, uh, which basically arbitrage is usually a high frequency trading and could lead to a lot of, intraday and, trades on small intervals and small price movements. So, all those things have to be leg by leg recorded, and basically on all the buy transactions the user Aditya is going through, there's a liability of deducting and understanding the TDS. And like I said, there are at least two broad cases here. One, let's say the seller of that security is a non-resident, then there is no TDS. But if it is a Indian resident, then they have to deduct the 1% TDS of the trade value and deposit on behalf of the seller with their PAN number. In fact, failing to have the PAN number or the identity of the seller, the buyer's liability is to up to 20% of the trade value.
Oh my God. Okay, so I think Aditya, you should definitely start filing your taxes because it might become a bigger issue for you if you don't. Next, we have NPC. He's asking if we have purchased the crypto in an FI and transferred to another exchange, but just holding the same balance. So, do we need to file the tax?
So if the trade is in between their own wallets or their own accounts, then it is not changing hands per se. In which case there is no
Need to file a tax.
need to file the TDS. I mean, there is no TDS, and also because the security is held by the same resident Indian from one account to the other. So again, there is no gain or loss pertaining to the transfer.
Okay.
It's like, if you hold money in NSE and you transfer those securities into BSE, there is no gain or loss in that transaction because the buyer and the security and the amount remains the same. So with this leg of trade, at least to the best of our knowledge, there is neither TDS applicable nor there is a tax applicable.
Yeah,
30%
actually,
tax.
the sale has not happened. It's
Sale
only
has
the
not happened.
transfer from one wallet to another wallet. Both of them are controlled by the same person. So, so it should
So
be.
NPC, till the time you sell your assets, I think you don't have to worry about
Sell
filing
your
the-
assets, or if you transfer it to someone else,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
also is like,
a third
or you
party.
use it to pay for something, like so.
Okay.
And until it goes off his hands, it can consider it to be his own. It is his own thing, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I feel like this is a lot like maybe it's like the gains haven't been there, or maybe they have not transferred it to INR.
Mm.
This is one condition I would, from my understanding, what I can understand from this, if it has not been converted to INR, that means it's not yet taxable.
That's right. So it is similar to anything else, right? So for like, let's say 5 years ago, you bought some gold. Okay, unless you sell it, even though the price of it has increased, you still don't pay for it, right? So
Yeah.
when you sell it, you see what was the cost price of it, and then you declare the difference to be your profit. Yeah, sure.
So I think NBC, you got your answer. Again, we have a question from Mitesh. He's asking, is the sale loss for a particular crypto, say BTC, adjustable with a profit of another crypto, say Ether?
It's a great question, Mitesh, and I would like to uh, answer your question and also provide one more clarification. So the answer, unfortunately, is no. You can't offset the gain of BTC with the loss on Ether or any gain of profit in one token or one transaction, one asset into the losses made with other tokens or assets. Now, what also has happened is government has provided actually clarification that no offset is allowed, no loss offset is allowed, even under the same asset. So, as per the new rule clarification which has come, which says that the traders or the sellers are not allowed to offset any gain, any loss against profit made
Profits of
in
any
any other
asset.
Not only any other,
any
the
other
same also.
Oh, is
also
it?
the same asset. And in fact, even already in the tax form, they've written that if you're making losses, in the gains column you put the value as 0. So basically,
You can not
in
pay.
order to compute the overall gain, you are only summing up all your positive trades, and wherever trades are being negative, you are actually putting 0 as the value and summing it up and paying the tax based on overall sum of all the gains you made.
Okay.
So which also means, let's say a person bought one Bitcoin for 15 lakhs and he ended up selling it for 10. So where he lost the money. And then the next one, in the next month, in the same financial year, he bought it again for 15 and sold it for 16, right? So within this scenario, even though his net loss is 4 lakhs, he still have to pay the 30% tax on that 1 lakh he made from between 15 to 16 without taking the offset of the 5 lakhs that has been lost. Is it right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
that's how it looks like. Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
it's pathetic,
So I
but
think that was the answer for your question, Mitesh. Next we have Biswajit Dey. He's asking, oh, that's a very funny statement. He's saying, are you serious? Please don't file taxes. 4-5 crore citizens file taxes. Rest of the country doesn't file. Anyways, thanks for the information. So he's like totally against filing taxes whatsoever. If you could basically just for your information, of course, it's a legal offense. So Tanmay here will tell you a few disadvantages of not filing the taxes.
No, so the I think one of the human endeavors is also
To save
having
money.
a peace of mind, and whatever money and professional personal success, financial success we make should lead to, let's say, comfortable life and hassle free lifestyle. And in order to live in a country, one has to comply with the local laws of the country. So and taxes are there in any asset class, whether it is debt, whether it is equity. Some are higher. In, let's say, in case of debt fund managers, debt exchanges may say, why are taxes high for debt and not for equity? But that's how it is, right? And same is with crypto. I mean, crypto is now newly taxed. The taxes may be bit higher and, let's say, bit harsh as compared to other asset classes. But in order for people to be a long term player in this field, they need to figure out how to be profiting and making investments, and not worry so much about tax. Tax is like the new reality of any asset class, and so be it for crypto as well.
generally speaking as well, I think when it comes to people paying taxes and not paying taxes, so the situation, say, about 10 years ago was very different as compared to, say, about 5 years ago when demonetization and all those things happened, and what it is right now, right? So, I mean, we will be astonished to know the amount of access to various systems that the income tax department have today, and understand what are the things if specific particular person is trying to do, and is normal buying and selling, and how much money is getting transferred and such. So now the moment you cross a couple of lakhs of transactions, bank will mandate you to submit your PAN card, even if you have not done it before, right? So at the bank level, the PAN card is mandatory. So that kind of links to your identity of who exactly is doing it and what transactions are happening already. And once that happens, the next step is like whenever you're doing the transactions, it's in real time available as of today because of the systems that the income tax departments have got to build, accessing the various banks and such. Now forget about taxation that I'm supposed to do today, whether I want to do it or not. Only 5% are doing it. Do I fall under that? Is it okay if I don't? So that is like the question that we have to answer today. But the extent to which this particular methodology that they are considering is going back in time, what you have done 3 years ago, what you have done 5 years ago. At that time, obviously, the extent of information that was available to them was little different, right? So when they start looking at the transaction that has happened, let's say it's just like a normal business. So if the amount of transactions that has happened in the bank account, for the argument's sake, let's say it is 25 lakh rupees, they have some kind of gauge about how much should be the profits, whether they have paid it or not, right? So what is that business activity they're trying to do? And now that, because a lot of them will be bank transfers, they also know what are the other kinds of accounts which are paying money to them, to whom they are paying out the money. Out of that, what could be the actual realistic expenses they would have done, what is supposed to be the taxes. So all of that is like very, in a nutshell, it's like available to them already, right? And now not paying it, and say we just go another 3 years down the line, right? So the extent to which they have the understanding will only be increasing, right? So at that time, if they look at what has happened now, it's like everything will be in black and white. It's like very straightforward, right? So when that happens, apart from paying that same income taxes, you also have to pay the penalty. You have to also pay the the interest on top of it. So all of it combined will see. Say since at least 2020 overall, I would say not paying the taxes or escaping from that is extremely tricky, extremely tricky in nature, right? So it will come back to you in all likelihood. And they say that if there is more than 25 lakhs of income which was not declared, then if they identify that, then they can go as long as 10 years. In whether what all have you done in your previous files, right? So normally it's about 3 years, 3 financial years. So I think it's actually a bad idea. So if you are staying in India, which is a law of the land, just pay it. You're enjoying the benefits of the government or the country, whatever they're trying to do. Okay, so that will give you the peace of mind. And on the other side, if you have let's say a couple of lakhs or maybe 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, I understand like over a period of time you can spend it without spending it through accounts or accounted money or things like that, right? So let's say if you have been successful and you're ending up few tens of crores of rupees, then how do you spend it? Spending it is not easy today. If you go to a good resort, they will make sure to get the either you have to pay using credit card, or you have to provide the PAN card. If it goes up to I think 2 lakh rupees, some limits are there. So you have to provide your PAN card if you are paying it in cash. So there it is getting linked. If you try buying a car or a bike, so there you have they will not accept cash. That is done, not even 1 rupee cash. It's like out of question already. And then let's say you try booking the flight tickets and maybe going to some other country and coming back. So whenever that happens, they say that if there is more than 2 travels or something like that, everything should be declared. So that's like taken care of. And now try buying a land, right? So for that there is like the proper, you need to submit your PAN card and all those things. So my question is, what you can do big with just cash, right? So that in normal activities that a normal human would do, it's very, very less nowadays. They can do multiple bad things, but if you are saving the taxes in a good way or in whatever way, let's say, what good you can do with it. So it's actually tricky. Either you'll have to again go and pay to the political party. There is some provision for that. Do that. We get away with it. Say instead of the pay to the government directly, so it's like same thing. It's going to the same pocket. I mean, same Indian. Either it will go through the political party, it will come as service, or it will go through this and become infrastructure, right?
So money has to go either way, Vishwanath. So stay cautious and please pay your taxes. Guys, we are going to take a quick 30-second break. Don't go anywhere. I know we have a lot of questions and we are going to answer each of them. Stay right here. We'll be right back in just 30 seconds.
Zero.
Okay, guys, welcome back to our AMA. Here we are, and we are going to start with our other questions. I see, oh my god, there are a lot of questions. Next one that we have here is from Mitesh again. He's asking regarding arbitrage What do you mean trading with resident or non-resident user?
Yeah. No, so Mitesh, by resident user, uh, what I mean is if your counterparty is a resident Indian or an Indian taxpayer, a non-resident would mean either the person is maybe staying temporarily in India and not a tax resident of India, or is completely a foreign national on which Indian tax and other laws don't apply. So when you are dealing, or when your other counterparty when it comes to crypto is a resident Indian as a buyer, which is where the TDS comes in, is applicable. Uh, the concept of 194S applies, which basically means that as a buyer, you are the source of money for the seller, and you will have to deduct 1% or the applicable TDS on behalf of the seller and deposit it on the PAN number of the individual. So basically, that is, uh, you know, and this sort of rule is applicable to any asset where TDS is applicable. The 194S, wherever it is applicable, and including crypto transaction. So when you are a buyer and the seller is a resident Indian, or an Indian taxpayer having an Indian PAN and also an active taxpayer residency in India, you have to deduct a 1% or applicable TDS for the trade as a buyer and deposit on behalf of the seller. But when it comes to a non-resident, or a foreign or an international resident who's not a Indian resident or an Indian taxpayer, then you need not deduct as a buyer that 1% TDS, and that trade doesn't attract any TDS.
Okay. So I think Nitesh, you got the clarity that you wanted on your answer. Next, we have NPC. NPC is asking, should P2P trading made on international exchanges? Will they need to be shown in IT filing, and should we pay tax? How Binox will handle this?
Yeah, NPC, it's a great question, and I would like to answer this in maybe two ways. So one is definitely, if you come to Binox and link your international exchange accounts, so we'll start from right when the TDS is applicable and show in your calculations all your trades where TDS is not deducted yet, and what is the amount of TDS as the buyer leg of the trade, the user has to pay. And So if you need all your calculations along with your, let's say, interest and the penalty, etc., will get computed for all the transactions which are done on the international exchanges, which are not deducting or complying with the Indian TDS laws. uh, and So this is basically the functional answer how Binox can help. The other answer is, I would 100% agree with Sathvik, which is and who said previously that how would government come to know about it. So the way uh, forensics and income tax and any such department functions, their ability every year is much better than the previous year. So much so that even very very large companies like Vodafone, they were able to retrospectively slap billions of dollars worth of tax and fine for a deal which was done seemingly in all the right way 10-15 years back. And they won those cases in the international courts. And if basically Vodafone has to operate in India, will have to pay and comply with the Indian laws. So uh, I would just say that I think what we are trying to decide, or if our decision to pay tax or not pay tax is based on the fact that this year nobody can find me so I can escape. But let's say India is an important country for any sort of software services, including crypto, and Indian users will be important for any exchange, any international company dealing in crypto. And if they may not be applicable now, but in future if they want to do business in India, they will have to share data with India, comply with Indian laws. Even monopolies like Google or Facebook, when Indian government wants data, they have to share data. So and they have to retrospectively share data. This is a financial thing where most of the laws across the world are similar. So when it comes to any financial transaction, the country has the right to collect all that information and the data, and so will be applicable to all the international trades done on exchanges, and even from where it is realized by the government and thereon, and also even retrospectively. So
Mm. Yeah, so here when it comes to these kinds of peer-to-peer trades and such, right? So I mean, those peer-to-peer trades are, I mean, if it is that particular model is successful, it means there are a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers to start with, which also means for that particular business, India is an important country, right? So what all can that company do so that they don't lose business in India? Actually, everything, right? So if there is any inquiries about a particular email ID or a particular phone number or any identity or any IP address, what are the transactions that they're trying to do and such, they of course will come forward and give the data. Okay. Now, when it comes to peer-to-peer trading, I think in most of the exchanges internationally, even some ones I know, that's only possible after providing the full KYC of the user. So, which essentially means the information of what are the trades that are happened as a part of peer-to-peer, even though the internet exchange is international. Just assume that if it is today or maybe in 2, 3, 5 years down the lane, that information will definitely be available for Indian taxation authorities, and it will only be bad. At the end, I mean, just think of it now. If the interest rate is okay, fine, you just pay me 2% interest rate, then actually people don't pay taxes because anyway, when it comes, I'll be able to earn better money than that 2%. So including interest, I will pay later, right? So that is not the case here. So the only way the government will make sure that you pay the taxes is imposing very, very high interest rate, very high penalty, including some kind of jail term and such things, right? So which obviously will be worse than actually paying it right away, if you just compare those two scenarios. And if people start thinking that is not the case, then the penalty and interest rate will only become bad. So it will become bad till people think that okay, paying now is better, right? So it is just like that thing, right? So at the end, you have to also think, for government, these kinds of taxes are an important part of their cash flow, right? So how will the government allocate budgets for military or infrastructure or welfare and so many other things? So the way they can do is by getting the money. And after we being in India following the law of the land, if we have not paid the taxes, and then think about okay, how much will probably the government or the income tax may have to invest to develop a system which is more capable, and how much, if that is successful, how much will they achieve, right? So the return on investment for it could be like 1:100. So in that case, obviously the government would go ahead and do it. They will do everything in their power, and it is cash flow thing for the government as well, to just know maximum what are the taxes that people need to pay and which have not been paid. And now that they know that information, including the penalty and interest rate, all of it will get collected. So that's how it's happening. And nowadays, the taxation notice that people are getting, it's not like last year what happened, have you given it's no more like that. They're asking for 3 years, 5 years before also. So it's actually going back in time to cover up all the things which has happened in the past year.
But about the part where he's mentioned that these transactions should be made on international exchanges, I think it's just my opinion per se. But for my transactions or anything, if I'm using Indian bank and not Swiss bank, I think it's more feasible for anyone to use maybe any organization that is based in their country itself. Reason being, you can always go and reach out to them in case of need. Now, if they're situated in some random country, something goes wrong, you might just face a lot of issues even reaching to them. If they're maybe having some branch in India, even that's fine, that will work. But you should always try to look for proximity when you are in financial transactions, be that with your cash, be that with your exchanges, crypto and everything. This is just an opinion again, but yeah, you can also use it
Yeah,
as
that is true, Shanvi. So another thing here we should think of is, if the exchange is not deducting the TDS, then the onus gets transferred on the buyer.
yes.
Okay. Now, if the buyer is not getting the information of the seller, even in the peer-to-peer transaction, when I say information of the seller, you need proper KYC. including at least a PAN card, so that you pay that 1% tax and such. And sometimes the seller, he will not be sure whether he will pay that 1% or not. Sometimes that will be part of his profit, right? So in that case, it will be tricky for both sides. The exchange can simply say that, look, at the end, I am not the company in India, so I don't need to comply for time being. I'll figure it out as tell them. And now the person who is a buyer and the person who is a seller are in kind of a mess, right? So the first issue is with the buyer, right? So I mean, will he get the KYC information? Unlikely. Okay, even if he gets it, for that 1 or 2 or 10 number of transactions, whatever he need to do, will he go sit with the CA, do their calculations, and pay those PAN cards, that particular 1%? Does he do it? Unlikely, right? But when he does it with Indian exchanges, this issue will not come, because Indian exchanges is handling whoever is a seller. The exchange itself holds that 1%, and it will pay to the seller, and that's like straightforward. And the buyer don't even need to, because Indian exchanges are already authorized to deduct the TDS and pay directly, right? So, but when it is international exchanges, which they have not done, this becomes not possible. Here, the buyer is in India, seller is in India, just the platform that is used is non-Indian. Okay, so it is the onus of the buyer and seller to make this work. And the biggest worry of the seller here is, will the buyer pay his 1% or not? But when it comes to exchanges, they are much more organized. At least after they deduct that 1%, by the month, and when you do the payments, and in three months when we do the filing, so all those things will be taken care of, and he will get his form, whatever it is, which shows how much TDS was deducted, what was paid, etc. So it just makes his life a lot easier, right? So, and it also makes it compliant. And let's say today, because peer-to-peer is there, then you have buyer on one side, you have seller on one side, exchange didn't bother, it's international, okay, and then the buyer also didn't bother, seller also didn't bother, right? So he paid in full. Okay, so in the future, when this term comes up, he will again have to pay that 1% plus penalty of another 1% and interest, and also some jail term and all those things. So that will also add up. So will it happen now? May not be, right? Will it happen in 1 year? Things could slowly start becoming serious. In 3 years, if they start seeing what are the things that has happened before, it's the tricky part, right? So it is like this in simple words, right? So even today, if it comes to the cash transactions and such, the time from which the departments look is from demonetization, right? So that is the time where things would have almost gone haphazard if there was too much of cash in one person's hand, right? So whenever this particular things, right? So it has introduced now, fine. For people to be really serious, it would have taken 1 year, right? Only after that things would have gone better. But the office, the departments actually know that as soon as the introduction has happened to 1 year is when they can actually find discrepancies, because people wouldn't have understood it. They would have done small mistakes, all those things. So they will not see what has happened in 1 year before, 2 years before. They'll see when it was introduced, what are the discrepancies. And that will actually come down to this time as we are talking, right? So this in between last July, maybe this March, so this is the time where there was no proper clarity given, and there sometimes it is subject to interpretation. So when that happens, they want to see how people have handled it. So it's being compliant is like really important. That's like underlying last thing I can talk about. I mean, I cannot stress that more. Or else go out of the country. It's as simple as no. It's actually a serious thing, right? So if you are a tax resident here, obey the rules. If you are not a tax resident here, don't do that. So beyond a point, trying to be too smart, the taxation department will become smarter a little later. But when they become smarter, they can come back in time. It's like that, right? So tricky.
So to avoid any problem, guys, please pay your taxes and comply with whatsoever rules our government is coming up with, because that is what we are supposed to do as a responsible citizen of our nation. Next, who do we have here? Next is Mitesh again. He's asking, transfer would include withdrawal fees. Would that be for sale? Would that be a sale?
No, transfer whatever the fees that is incurring, it is like the expense, the cost. I wouldn't say cost, because when you say cost now, people will think that that you can include as a part of cost. It's not true as well. It's actually an expense, right? So it is like you spend that out. It's like gone, a kind of thing, right? So the only input that has been allowed is the cost of the assets itself, right? Is it the fees involved? The fees also is not a cost. I think the fees also they have to pay, I guess, right?
No, so fee is also deductible from the overall profit. So if
Oral
there's a
profit,
cost of
okay.
transaction,
So cost and fees, only two
cost and-
things.
yes,
Only two things. So these kinds of transfers actually is not deductible, right? And it is and even though you actually are paying it to the miners, I mean, in fact, it is just a write-off. I think I wouldn't. I mean, I cannot understand in whatever other way it's possible, right? So if there is the miner which is receiving that, who is also within India itself, then maybe he will show it as profit. I don't know. So that is like the other part of the story. But here it's a write-off. So you just lost that kind of money. That's it. It cannot be added back to the cost to say that my cost has increased because I did a transfer in between. No, that's not the case.
So next question, we have a lot of questions, but I have this one question which I think I won't be able to ask if I don't ask it now.
Sure.
Looking at the number of questions we have. So Unocoin has this thing. Anyone when they sign up on the app, they get some sign up bonus, sign up coupon or something like that. Even when I signed up, I got I think Shiba Inu worth rupees. Now they're worth rupees 25. Earlier there was some 17 rupees or something. So how will that be taxed?
So yeah, this is like a gift. This is
Yeah.
this is like a gift or an income, and it is not like a capital gain. So you've not acquired the Shiba Inu as an investment where you paid some money, acquired the asset, and sold it for a profit. It is like somebody is given a gift. Now this gift can be based on some services. Like if you're joining a company's, let's say, user list, then it's like a service you in some way offer to the company. So it gets clubbed and added to your all the sources of your regular income. Could be salary, could be business income, and which is basically based on, if you're a salaried employee, then there's a tiered structure of tax payment. So all your, let's say, mining income, all your gifts in crypto, all your airdrops, etc., will get clubbed into your regular income, and the regular slab rates will apply.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, to that
So yeah,
tune.
I don't have to.
No,
pay
that is first part of the story. The second part of the story is when you actually sell those Shiba Inu,
Then
right?
I'll have to.
So when that happens, you will. I mean, let's say you signed up in 2021, August, for example, right? So at that time you got 100 rupees worth of Shiba Inu. So, okay. So then for if you are doing it pi to pi thing, paisa to paisa thing, yeah, that is supposed to be your on your profit loss
Income, yeah.
statement. Yeah, they should be showing that 100 rupees you got, and for that you'll be paying some 20-30% whatever taxes, depending upon your slabs. Okay. So you on that day, you know that the price you declared is 100, right? So like next year, let's say in August 2022, if you end up selling those Shiba Inu for, let's say, 150 rupees, then that remaining 50 rupees, that the price of which got appreciated, that will be taxed as per crypto taxes. It's no more your slabs.
Okay, yeah.
So because it's like you acquired that, right? So for you filed the taxes, 100 rupees you paid for it's all done. And when it appreciates and you sell it, then yeah, for that you have to pay 30%. And let's say if the price drops and then you sell it, even that you cannot offset with any other profit. Correct, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so one quick question, if you could just answer it in a few words. If I don't file taxes for that, whatever gains I've had, like
Which
that
one?
is
This
just
welcome
very,
bonus.
yeah, welcome bonus. If I have any gains, because of course I have gains on that, I don't file any taxes for that, and I just forget about it. Okay, it's in my account. I forgot about it. Will I be jailed then?
Yep.
No, the
Yeah.
problem is to take you to the custody and feed you will be more
It has
costlier.
to be a big.
So I see at the end how humanly realistic it is to account every little rupee that you are spending and every little rupee you are gaining, right? So because you got some, I mean, for example, you have this Paytm app as well. Sometimes you scratch it and you get 20 rupees as cash back. Does it mean I have to actually show the 20 rupees in my income tax statement? As per the rules, yes. And I don't think anyone with the right mind would go to such an extent to actually, make it happen, right? So it's because all of that combined, maybe not even 1,000 rupees,
Yes.
right? So it is not worth anyone time to even think about it or consider it, right? So it would usually be the normal, all bigger incomes, which are big in
So,
nature,
of course,
just
yeah,
considered.
the incomes that would come to notice, just like with our normal income and everything, when it
Hmm.
comes to notice, when it's, like very eye-catching amount, just same as
I would actually say anything more than 1,000 rupees should be considered. Just like one rule of thumb. That's what I have, because it's unrealistic. On the other side, even to an extent where, right. So sometimes when you get these coupon codes, right, so that you can apply on something to get discount out of those. I mean, technically you are supposed to say that the coupon code is like your profit. So I mean, can you do it that way? It's beyond practically not possible. Yeah. So just like do it.
Now, why I asked this question, because a lot of our users keep winning a lot of coupons in our AMAs as well. So just for them.
Yeah, it's even that is true with these credit card payments. Now they give some kind of reward points,
Reward points.
and sometimes that actually adds up if you are spending a lot of money. If it is 200, 500, no one cares. They would have said, okay, I'll buy a set of earphones. That costed 300 rupees. Okay, will that actually be taxed? Yeah, this is just, it doesn't. It's not realistic.
Okay. So moving forward, because I have a lot of questions. Sorry
Mhm.
guys for taking your time. Next question is by Vishwajit. He's asking, since crypto is volatile currency, so do you think taxes should be more flexible?
I wish.
No,
I
so
mean, me telling I wish is something that will make Tanmoy, why are you making the taxation simple? Because his business is more more better if the taxation is complex, no?
absolutely, no. So, it's a philosophical question. And I think, because at least my response to that is, the tax is like a contract between the citizens and the government. And it is an important revenue making vehicle for the government. And, the tax incidence is applicable to a lot of, wide variety of people who may be sometimes not even, let's say, literate and so on. So it is very, very necessary to keep taxes very simple. So even in, let's say, the most advanced countries, when it comes to education, or let's say technology adoption, if you look at taxes, they may be complex. Taxes by inherent nature are complex, but at least the endeavor is to make it as simple as possible, as straightforward as possible. So I would say the purpose of tax is to let the users know what is that they owe to the government as a contract of whatever money they're making, so that the government, like Sathvik was mentioning, builds that infra, builds the roads, hospitals, keeps the air clean, builds the transport, and so on and so forth. So uh, it needs to be simple, it needs to be straightforward and understandable for the users, so that they can comply with these. And wherever there is, complexity, there are platforms like Binox to help you out. But yeah, I mean, Satvik would love to know. I mean, can taxes
See,
be stochastic in nature,
see, in,
probabilistic?
in my personal view, I think the taxation that presently is applicable on crypto is unfair, right? So, um, I mean, like there is way too many things here, right? So, if you start looking crypto as well as a asset class, then let's say the only business or the only thing you have done is have some gains in crypto tax, which could be about 1 lakh rupees, right? So if you have received that 1 lakh rupees by trading something else, then it's not a part of the tax. But if it is because it's crypto, it should be taxed. Is what the argument which I, as a person, am not willing to completely agree. Right. So I'll be more looking at it like this is also one of the business activities, like how at the end people do take the risks. So when I again talk about taking risks, you don't need to teach people about which is risky, which is not, right? So even today, if there is a person who is earning say 5,000 rupees per month, he still go for some chit fund, deposit 500 rupees. He will go for like few things will still be there, right? So if you go, if even if you see someone who is earning 50 lakh rupees a year as well, he as well go for his whatever other things, and he will manage his own portfolio and such. So but fine, education is fine, saying that this is a new asset class, make sure that you know what you're trying to do, and such part of things. But this distinguishing, right? So why, if it is crypto gains, it is different. If it is land gains, it is different. If it is gold gains, it is different. So that should not be the case, right? So at the end, if you have earned money, then you are liable to pay taxes, and it should be similar for everyone, right? So, but when it comes to capital gains, yeah, I agree. So, if someone would have waited for more than a few years, right? So, and if it and that's why you pay 20% instead of 30%. Like, so that's a kind of long-term capital gains. So that should also be applicable here. It's not a woman. If someone is buying crypto now and if he's holding it for 5 years and selling it, it's of course should be falling under the capital gains, long-term capital gains itself, if they are calling it as an asset. And in India, they are promoting, the government itself or the taxation departments at least looking at it as an asset, not as commodity, not as currency, I mean, not as anything else, so equity or anything else. So if it is treated as an asset, it should just be like another different new class of asset, is how I would see. And definitely these kinds of not able to take the loss against another, offset it, that should be. I have not seen in any do you know any other category where such thing exists? Yeah, I mean, like, why punishing crypto, right? So, and one more thing, yeah, like this always keeps coming to my mind, right? So the businesses or the rules that you, including the taxation rules, that you try to bring up during the bull market will not work in your favor or anyone's favor in the bear market, right? So we see a lot of FTX and this is like BlackRock and like maybe Three Arrows. So all of that, when it was a bull market, right? So that cycle continued without any kind of issues. But when the bear market started, when the liquidation started happening, the entire thing collapsed like a dominoes. One affecting another, affecting another, affecting another, right? So when it is bull market, which was when this got introduced, which was 2022 February, it was a good market actually. The price of Bitcoin actually was more than double of today, I think, something like that, right? So from 45, $50,000. So at that time, okay, I mean, anyway, I'm making gains, but having this taxation is fine. And the way they would have also thought, the government or the departments, right, would have thought, will also be the similar. See, everyone is making profit. If they are making profit, what is the issue? They should be able to pay 30%. But when the bearish market comes up, and they especially create this rule saying, if it is one loss, then you cannot offset with others, then like, where is the money coming from? Right? So that is like very very bad. I mean, it is not a workable solution. At the end, we created the rules in such a way that the game cannot be played. So that should not be the way, I think. And even in this case, the government also will not get money. It will become tricky.
Just to add to Satvik's point, I think crypto also as an asset class is being, like, from a regulatory perspective, very, very fluid. And I think some countries are more understanding and advanced when it comes to formulating these regulations. So countries like, let's say, Singapore, Switzerland, Luxembourg, which are also the financial capitals of the globe, if not, let's say, region already. So what we are seeing is also a lot of these countries are coming up with understanding crypto not just as a lumpy asset class, but they are trying to decipher that these are like the utility tokens, these are like the commodity tokens, these are like more currency like, these are more equity like, and table laws and regulations and therefore taxes based on the type of token. So I mean, in a lot of case, what crypto is basically, when there was a time when stock market was completely physical form shares holding, then it got dematerialized. Dematerialized was a process of holding the same equity or same shares in just in a digital format. What tokenization does is basically takes it much notches further, and it basically helps you not only convert and hold securities in a dematerialized and digital format, and also you can also trade it in completely digital realm. So I think a lot of these newer countries or more advanced countries are understanding this. And the great thing which I'm seeing is the G20 is like one of the common agendas is to look at crypto and formulate common laws. And so I think right now, Sathvik, to your point, things may be very bleak and, let's say, harsh on crypto, but and I think in next 3 to 5 years things should change significantly when there'll be far more, let's say, understandable laws and taxes based on how different types of cryptos function and work, and it'll be looked at like an infrastructure, like our demat sort of a movement, rather than an asset class which is like a Ponzi scheme. So basically, this is my view and what we are seeing also in the market, and I'm being very hopeful on that. But yeah, I mean, only time will tell how it sort of pans out.
True. I think just like Sathvik said, I don't know why they're punishing cryptos only. Uh, if it is not too dramatic to say, even Prahlad had to go through a lot of hardships to, get the validation for his things, what he was doing. And today we do Holika Dahan, and it is one of the examples of great things. Always go through a lot of hardship to gain the real validation in the world. So I think guys we're running out of time already, but I see so many questions. I feel so bad right now. If possible, I think we'll be conducting another Twitter Spaces or something for you all. But I'm so sorry.
Oh, Shambi, if we can consolidate the questions, I can have our team to also respond to these questions to
Yeah, I think
get clarification. Yeah.
my team can get all the questions to you.
And they can reply on the YouTube comments or something
Yeah,
like that,
absolutely.
right?
So I think this is wonderful, guys. You'll get all the answers to your questions, whatever you have commented from LinkedIn, from YouTube, wherever. You'll get all the answers by the Binox team itself. So yeah, so this would be all for today, guys. Please safely and yeah, play with colors nicely and have a great time. Basically, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sathvik and Tanmay, for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Holi, everyone.
Happy Holi. Thank
Happy
you.
Holi. Take care. Bye.